Welcome everybody to Life, Love and the Pursuit of Real Estate. I'm Michael. This is my friend James.
Right.
This interview is going to be a little bit more in depth. James, if you've watched the first interview, James, I should say our second interview now, and this is our third. James has now transitioned into a new business. Within 12 months, James has started gaining great market momentum. But this interview is geared around real estate principles, owners of real estate offices, and intrinsically I want to talk more about the gut core beliefs of what it takes to run a business successfully. My first core belief in this game is that unless you get momentum in the first 6 months, you generally don't succeed long term. And you agree with that, don't you, James?
Yeah, absolutely.
So welcome, let's get right into it.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Tell me now that you've been in it 12 months, tell me 3 things that you think you've accomplished in the first 12 months of running that business.
Market traction.
Yep.
Attracting the right people, staff.
Yep, good.
And self-satisfaction for what I've achieved thus far.
Yeah, the last one's good. Yeah, it's really good, really important. Okay, and tell me 3 things that you're working to improve in the first 12 months and working to improve further on to that.
Systems.
Yep.
Need continuous improvement.
Yes.
To make it more efficient. Digital presence. I mean, obviously going into a digital world. Well, we are in a digital world, but
I think you're doing pretty well with that. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
And lastly, to continue building the team. To get the right people who are value aligned. I've always said that, who subscribe to the same vision.
In the first 12 months, when we go through that birthing period, we're all enthusiastic. We're game on. Enthusiasm tends to carry.
Yep.
What are you doing as a real estate principal to educate yourself? What do you do? And I have a belief that in your downtime, you need to be educating yourself. What do you do to educate? Do you read? Do you watch videos? Do you get on YouTube?
Combination of a lot of things.
What do you do? Do you listen to my bullshit? I don't know, but what do you do?
I do read.
Yeah.
I like to read books about obviously self-developing, obviously improving myself as an asset.
Yeah.
I do watch videos if you like. Not so much motivational stuff, albeit I believe watching motivational material, and that can be classified and I guess broken into so many different categories. I do like to listen to, I guess, business leaders outside real estate, what they're doing to improve their businesses.
Yeah, good on
you get to step away from just real estate.
Yeah.
Health, obviously, keeping my mind, your mind, body and soul in line, and just cutting, I guess, certain people out of my life just to get myself focused on where I need to be.
Yeah.
You know, that's been a big eye-opener for me.
Yeah, I have a saying that if you want a better mindset, get better friends.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
So, all right, okay, we're in line with that. That's good. All right, now, so as far as you and I, from time to time, we've covered core values, core beliefs, all those sorts of things, right? So I'm running through. And when I was thinking about you the other day, the questions just kept rolling while I was thinking about you. So when now that you've been 12 months in play, so to speak, are you in the position where you sit down, say when you've got time off, and you go and you start to assess where you are? So have you? So you don't do basically a stat sheet seeing where you're going, but how do you go back and go, right, over the 12-month period, this is what we've done, right? And because I used to do weekly and monthly assessment sheets, as I mentioned to you before, in relation to where I'm at, what I've sold, who's selling what, how many vals were done or market appraisals, how many we lost, how many we gained, all that sort of stuff. So in the first 12-month period, if I said to you today, could you tell me what you've done nearly in every month that you've traded so far? Would you be able to tell me that? Do you know the core numbers of your business intrinsically, or are you occupied with so many other things that you don't know that?
No, it's not that I don't know. It's not that I don't know that. It's just that in the first 12 months, I had when I came into this business, I had 2 ways of looking at this. I can go in and go balls to the wall, for want of a better term, and listen, sell, or I can go in there and set the foundation for a successful business in the future. And what I've been doing is setting the foundation, listening and selling. So I knew right from the offset that I'm not coming in to smash the market, to list everything I can, because then you burn out without taking time to establish my foundation. So to answer your question, my numbers could be a lot higher, but I've dedicated that time to setting the foundation, which means recruiting people, improving my systems.
Culture-based.
Absolutely. Yeah. As much as I love to have, for want of a better term, if you're building a house, you'd love to have the house tomorrow. but you got to set the foundation. This is not a race for me.
Yeah.
I've got a very different mindset these days. You know,
Okay.
I'm playing the long game.
All right. Okay. And what's changed your mindset?
What's changed my mindset?
Is it age? What is it?
I think it's a number of things. I think I've learned to be at peace with where I am right now in my life.
Yeah, good.
I had an issue of constantly pushing myself and comparing myself to where others were in the industry, which is a very, very easy trap to fall into. Yeah. I've learned to distance myself now from other people. That it doesn't matter where you are. You know, you could be on chapter 10 or chapter 20. I'm at a very different stage of my life right now, and I've got to run my own race.
Yeah.
So, as I've said to you before, without getting
that's a very big learning. Sorry to interrupt. That is one of the biggest life learnings that I've ever learned.
Yeah.
I learned that when I left Stockdale and Lego, right? I learned that when I left Barry Plant. I learned that when I was doing work down the peninsula. Because that is the one defeater of quality real estate people that I've noticed.
Yeah.
When they fall into that trap of comparing with the next guy, and comparisons are good in a run, as I've mentioned before. But that's a really good life learning. That's a great call.
It is, and I think the only person you're going to compare yourself to is the person you were 12 months ago or 6 months ago. Because, you know, like I said to you, this is your journey, this is my journey, and the minute you allow other people to influence that in terms of if you're comparing yourself to other people, then you're taking your focus away from where you need to be, which is in your own space. Yeah. So that's where I'm focusing right now.
Okay, that's great. Okay, let me talk about one of my favourite subjects, crisis management. Right? I have a philosophy, and I think you know pretty well, that if something is an 8 out of 10 in crisis, that it takes immediate attention.
Yep.
Straight away, nothing else supersedes it. If it's less than that, it can wait till a meeting or whatever. Have you got a crisis management philosophy in your office, and have you had much crisis management? Have you needed to do much crisis management in the first 12 months?
Not really. But I think there's always going to be challenges. Life and business are always going to challenge you your way because you're dealing with the most complicated creature on earth, which is the human being. Yeah. So things will go against what you're hoping for from time to time. And I think it's how you approach that challenge. You know, I don't look at it just one-dimensionally. I look at it four-dimensionally. I don't panic. I sit back and say, okay, well, how did this happen? Why did it happen? What's the best way to handle this? Is it going to be detrimental to the business tomorrow? No. Is it going to matter in 2 months' time? No. So that's why it's put into perspective and handle it.
That's how you do the rating, because that's how I rate them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay. I think if you're going to be flying a plane, Michael, you can't lose your mind when things go wrong. Yeah. You know, when you are going to hit turbulence, and that's when the skill and life experience comes in. You've got to sit back, take a breath, look at it, and say, okay, well, what's the best way to handle this?
Well, even with the pilot with Southwest Airlines last week, right? If you actually listen to the script when she's speaking to traffic control, she was calm and very methodical.
Yep, you need to be.
Right? And I've got to tell you, I played it about 10 times because I couldn't believe anyone could be that calm.
You have to be.
Right? And that's the key. And that's why and I call it crisis management, because I just think some things need immediate attention, but most things generally don't. Yeah. And it's something that you need to part on. So far, you've actually had a really good run.
I have.
Yeah, good. Yeah. That's good. And that's obviously from the prep. Yep. Now, let me ask you this question. How much prep did you do in relation to before opening the door on the first day? How much prep went into the business? So I want just briefly, did it take you 3 or 4 months of fairly solid prep to open the business? Did you have all your staff set up? Did you have your core staff set up? Did you not have everybody you needed? Tell me a little bit about that.
The first thing is that, I've walked into a business that has been established. Let's get that, I guess, clear. A very successful business out there.
The RT brand
yes. in Burundara.
Yeah.
The prep that I did entering into that business there was to recruit a number of people to form part of the Manningham arm. Right. That took a good 6 to 8 months to find the right people. So
you've got good cohesion because you've got Jeremy and you've got Glenn. Like, not being
Jeremy,
funny.
Like Nick, Paul, there's a number of guys.
Like they're seasoned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
So I guess I'm bringing a different dynamic into that business. I mean, I'm bringing my 25 odd years of experience in that business. Yep. But what I did to prepare going into that was to think about how I was going to set up a Manningham arm to then launch from Burke Road into Manningham and then eventually open up the Manningham brand, the Manningham branch, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And that worked really well because I can remember when you and I originally was talking about that. I wasn't necessarily so convinced, but it's obviously worked great because it's giving you just foundation. You're talking about that foundation thing. You had an automatic one straight away.
Yeah.
Which was
absolutely.
good.
Absolutely. Okay. And it gave me a chance to also introduce the brand into Manningham, and I was I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I was pleased to see that the Manningham market took on the brand quite easily. They accepted the brand very, very easily because they knew what the brand stood for.
Yes.
And it's been around for 130 odd years and it's synonymous with high-end property across Melbourne.
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier for me to bring that brand into Manningham fairly quickly.
Yeah, it was a good choice. Well done. That's good. Okay. So then in relation to the opening of the first day, did you have like a run of targets and goals that you wanted to achieve in relation to market appraisals? Did you have aside from the normal stuff that we do as far as agents go and getting your brand out there, digital media, or whatever it might be, letter drops, not that I'm a fan of that, but all those sorts of things. Aside from that, did you have targets that you gave your guys and said, right, every month I want you to do a minimum of these amount of market appraisals? Did you get to that sort of core stuff?
Not at the very, very start. At the very, very start, I didn't want the team to feel as though the doors are open and they're going to be smashed. I didn't want that.
Right.
I wanted them to understand that this is a long game that we're playing. And I needed them to come into the market and understand that we're here to build a brand, to build a reputation, which means to go back to all their clients and re-establish communication with them and re-establish relationships with them and go out there and start adding value back to that relationship with them and let them know what RTG stands for and how we can help them for that transition when they're thinking about buying or selling.
Yeah.
So for the first 6 to 12 months, it's about getting out there, building the brand and meeting as many people as possible.
Okay.
And
that's obviously done you well.
Absolutely.
And so have you traded better than you expected?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
So therefore, that you basically, so you've done what most agents would never ever do, is you started off with no targets or budgets.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good discussion point for a lot of principals that are watching this, is that because people say to me even in the days when I was at Mount Waverley, what about your targets and budgets? Well, for years and years and years we ran without that.
Yeah.
Right, and we ran without that because I wanted people to find their own level, and then I made the decision as the principal whether that person was going to fit into the mould. So what I did is I picked personality, enthusiasm, intelligence, and then talent last.
Correct.
That was the last thing I picked.
100%.
You agree with that?
100%.
Great. Okay. Good. All right. And that's how I did. So you obviously done that the same way. All right. In relation to and this is I want to talk a little bit about structure now, but in relation to the structure. Do you run with general sales meetings? You do all that sort of stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use the same format and structure every week?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah. I run a directions meeting on a Monday.
Right. Can you just briefly tell me about that?
Directions meeting on a Monday is with each division. So in this particular case, let's focus on the Manningham division. So we talk about, for example, what they've appraised for the week, what they're chasing, what's sitting in their pipeline. Do they have any vendors they need assistance with in terms of getting them over the line? So we run through their basic KPIs. I try not to overcomplicate it, keep it simple. But by the same token, I need them to come to the table every Monday with what they're chasing. The next 5 opportunities, who they're meeting today, who they're meeting tomorrow, how the current campaigns are travelling.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Right.
Declutter all the unnecessary crap and focus on the most important things.
All right, directions meetings. So then what other meetings do you have?
Sales meeting.
Right, okay. And what does that entail? Tell me about that.
That just covers the weekend's auction results we had, and we talk about any wow moments that we had and how they went about achieving those great results.
Right.
We talk about the forthcoming auctions for that week.
Yep.
We talk about who's going to be assisting at those auctions, so the staff know where they're going to be. We don't want to overman a property.
Yeah,
we talk about the listings for the week that the crew have brought on board and how they went about winning those listings, any challenges they faced in the marketplace that we can share with the whole team.
Yep.
So we're going to learn from that.
Yep.
And we talk about just general business in general, and the stock. And we also talk about the auction campaigns that are currently running to see if there's any assistance the team may need with any campaigns that they might be finding challenging.
Okay, all right, okay, that's good. All right, that's a good review. Okay, let me ask you this then: disruptors.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's like the now word with a lot of trainers and all that sort of stuff, right? I relate disruptors to change because the market's always changing, there's things moving and all that sort of stuff. So therefore, your management style, right? I want to talk about for 30 seconds. And so your management style is how much influence do you have over your team on a daily basis?
If you're referring to micromanaging,
I
don't micromanage.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do is build future leaders.
All right. Okay.
This might sound silly by saying that.
No,
it may not for others. I don't want the team to feel as though they're reporting to me every 10 minutes of the day. I'm there to assist them and to coach them and to mentor them and to guide them through challenges every day that they may face.
Yeah.
But I need them to remember that they are their own person. They need to be able to stand up and think about situations as they come across them.
Yep.
And to think laterally, to take the blinkers off and to think about situations. You know, we are dealing in a very different world today. I just simply encourage them to be self-accountable. Yeah. As much as I say to the guys.
We're talking about autonomy now.
Yeah.
Because I was going to, sorry to butt in again.
That's all right.
But I was going to talk to you about the stick, the carrot, or autonomy. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm very big into the autonomy thing.
100%.
And I think that does build leaders.
Yeah.
Right? And it also builds self-awareness, especially if they're keen and they're competing against themselves to improve.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay.
Absolutely.
So you think autonomy is the way to go?
Very much so. Okay. I think there are some, you know, it depends where they are with their careers. I mean, if they're just entering the industry, that person's going to need very different coaching to the person who's been in it for 1 or 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So at the moment, most of the guys that I'm dealing with have been in the game for at least 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to teach them is the art of self-accountability, to put their own log on the fire, to keep burning that flame, to stay focused on themselves and to improve on who they were yesterday.
All right. How much influence then do you have with your staff out of the work sphere? Like, are you when you're talking to them and you're educating them and guiding them or doing crisis management, whatever it might be, how much influence, and this is probably a bit of an open-ended question, but how much influence do you have on their social aspect? That doesn't mean you mix with them socially, but like, do any of your mentoring, is that personally based and not just work-based?
Yeah, it is, by default, because I become so close with my crew that you become almost like a mentor to them, both socially and from a business perspective, that you become friends. And life has challenges, and you've got life experience, and I'm still learning, I'm still growing. But if I can share my knowledge with my crew or our staff, if you like, our team, my friends, about a path that I've walked down before, and then come back and tell them, you know what, life will throw challenges your way. Life is going to be hard, and help them understand how you, I guess, got through that. It helps them. It helps them see the light in the tunnel.
And that's why when you said before that a lot of your, your self-education is done with, you're talking to people that are non-real estate related. Like, I have Dr. Fred. I've started listening to Daniel Pink. I love him. I think he's really good. There's a lot of those guys out there that have so much to give that I think that's good. So that's great. All right. So then on that, in ending up this interview, tell me one major thing that's been a learning in the first 12 months of opening your business. What's hit you in the face and that you didn't expect that's been of benefit?
Surrounding yourself with the right people.
Okay. Right.
It's a very general thing to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that I think...
you are who you mix with?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I've always said people come into your life for a reason, Michael. You come into my life for a reason.
Yeah, well, I think there's a reason, season, a lifetime that people come into your life, right? And it's just depending on using that. And it's interesting because, John and I do a lot of Instagram posts. Yeah. And, one of my sayings is you always know your friends under pressure.
Yeah.
But sometimes things don't necessarily have to be all that bad for you to need your friends. Sometimes I need my friends when things are going really good.
Yeah.
So I stay on track.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff.
Okay, look, I think over the last 12 months, I wasn't on any disillusion to go in thinking that it's not going to be challenging, but that's how we grow.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that when you open up a business and you enter back into the ring that you've fought in before, it's amazing how, you reflect back on your lessons in life and you bring those lessons forward to help you adapt going forward into the next chapter of your life.
Yes.
I'm glad that it's challenging. I don't want this to be easy because it challenges me as a person.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the challenges that come forward are just hurdles that are just testing me out as to how badly I want this going forward. And I've got to tell you, I welcome challenges with an open arm.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got another question, which the last one was going to be the last one, but this is, how involved do you get your family in the life of your business on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis? Like, how much influence do you... Because I've been always a big believer of not carrying a lot of my work home.
Yeah.
Although my family know what's going on, generally speaking, but I've been reasonably good, I've got to say, of never ever taking a lot of that home, right? Because I've tried to delineate that because it's actually good for my mind.
Sure.
Right? Because I travel so fast every day, right? What do you do? Do you take much of your work home? Is the first 12 months being an all-encompassing program?
It has been, only because I love what I do.
Yeah, okay.
And I find it hard to let go when you love what you do.
Yeah.
It's hard. But I do try to leave as much of it at work as possible.
Yeah.
Because my kids deserve my time, as does my wife.
Yeah.
As do my friends.
Yeah.
As do I. I need time for myself.
Absolutely.
You know? But I do find myself sometimes getting back, into that conversation about work again. But I've got to stop myself, But I love what I do, and it's hard.
Well, mate, then from me to you, congratulations. Mate, I've followed your progress the last 12 months. To be honest, I've been blown away.
Thank you.
It's actually taken me back, to some of my glory days, and I thought some of them I'd forgotten, right? But I think you've done a great job. I think your exposure is good. I think the type of real estate that you're selling is varied and great,
Thank you.
right? And I'll tell you now, while we're in this interview, I've been to watch 2 of your auctions from a distance, and I thought you did a great job.
Thank you.
Right?
Super
Super job.
Thank
so
you.
congratulations, and thanks for your time, mate. Good on you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.